Jiminy frickin' crickets, y'all. The Miami-Dade real estate market is an absolute battle zone right now. And there's about a 0% chance that you could make the best informed decision without knowing the information contained in this video. So make sure that you listen up. Jake Fletcher here with the Fletcher Group and eXp Realty right here in Miami, Florida. And if you guys have any questions about Miami or Miami real estate, all my contact info is below and I'd love to help out. So let's go ahead and jump into this video where we're gonna be talking about all the data that you need to know in order to be up to date with what's happening in the market right now. Hey everybody, welcome to the video. Let's jump into these statistics. We're gonna be looking at Miami-Dade, both single family homes and condos separately, as well as the two categories together. And we're gonna be looking at them a few different ways. So let's go ahead and see what we got here, all right? So the first graph that I have is months of inventory versus active number of listings. So months of inventory, again, for anybody, if this is your first time watching, the months of inventory is if there's no new properties that came on the market, how long would it take to sell the existing inventory right now, okay? So that's in the green line. The blue line is the active number of listings. We're looking at all property types, so single family homes and condos. So you can see that both of these metrics have been on a steady decline. And all of the graphs we're gonna be looking at today, by the way, are from January 2018 to present day. Right now it's June 6th when I'm recording this. So we're including the entire month of May because those statistics are in, but we're not including June because we're not even a week in yet. So what we can see is that this metric has had both of these have had a steady decline since around that 2018. And on all these graphs, whenever you see a really crazy pop off like this, you know that that's when the pandemic started, which is kind of an interesting side note to keep in mind. So what we've seen is since that happened, right, months of inventory went through the roof because sales dropped dramatically, okay? And what happened is if there's a certain number of inventory, but sales go from here to here, it's going to take a lot more time to sell everything if it stays at that low level of sales, right? But what happened is sales picked up, and that's why you see months of inventory dropped, right? And sales have been continuing to be steady at the same time that active number of listings has dropped. So what does that do? That gets our months of inventory dropping, okay? Now, look at the very end of this graph. What we can see, and I'll zoom it in a little bit here for you so you can see it a little bit better. What you can see there is right here, right in the last month, we've seen active number of listings pop up a bit, right? So, and if you compare it to these other little pop-ups here, you can see that it's pretty, significant compared to something like this, where it's more just like a reduction of the rate of decrease, right? And it's not as gradual as some of these other ones, right? It's actually a little bit more pronounced. And then also that's led to months of inventory starting to go up too, because number of sales has not been keeping up with the same rate that it had before because interest rates have been going up, right? As most people know. So what you're seeing here is essentially the result of those interest rates starting to have effect. So let's take a look at just condos, okay? So we're looking same thing, months of inventory versus the active number of listings, except we're only looking at condos instead of single family homes and condos and townhomes together. So this is condos, townhomes, villas, all right? And co-ops, which is just a different structure of a condo essentially. Now, again, we see that big pop off right when the pandemic started, and then months of inventory went through the floorboards, right? At the same time, active number of listings went through the floorboard, right? Because we were having less new listings coming on, and we were having, significantly more sales. So that's eating up that inventory, eating up that active listings, which is sending the months of inventory down, right? Same thing here with condos. We're seeing months of inventory in the last couple months has it flattened out from about 2, and now it's up about 2.5, almost 3 months of inventory. inventory for condos. And then you can also see, boom, here in the active number of listings, a little bit more of a gradual pop-up here, but it is a pop-up. We are seeing that this is the very beginning of the shift of the market, right? Now let's take a look at just the single family homes, all right? Now this is an interesting one because we see that the active number of listings is a little bit more pronounced, a little bit more of a dramatic pop-up right there, right? And I'll zoom that in just a little bit so you guys can see. And then months of inventory, same thing, right? We drop through the floorboard here. Again, that's the pandemic. It's always really easy to see that on all these graphs when the pandemic started, because that's when the whole market just went haywire and crazy, right? So then boom, months of inventory drop through the floorboards for single family homes, just like it did for condos, co-ops, townhomes, and villas. And then at the same time, active number of listings going down, down, down. And then this is the first little pop-up that we're seeing, right? So we're starting to see more inventory coming on. Sales are slowing down. I've talked about that in previous videos. It's causing our months of inventory to, it had been going down, 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 started to level off. And now we've been kind of oscillating back and forth there, you can see. And then the last few months, it's gone more in an upward direction, which again is, in my opinion, relating back to interest rates, all right? So pretty interesting stuff. Let's check out a different type of graph, all right? So what we're gonna be talking about here is the number of sales, which is our green line, versus the number of new listings, which is our blue line, okay? Now, this, again, we're starting off with looking at everything: single family homes, townhomes, condos, co-ops, villas, all right? And then all of Miami-Dade from January 2018 to May of 2022, all right? Because again, we don't have June data. What's interesting about this pairing of data, the number of sales versus the number of new listings, is what it tells you is as these lines get closer together, it essentially represents that the market is tightening, meaning that as the number of sales gets closer to the number of new listings, as they get closer to parity with one another, the market is tighter. Because let's just say if you have 10 listings come on and then 10 listings get bought, right? You're pretty much you're staying stable in terms of the ratio of demand to supply, right? But as we see here at the end of this graph, you can see that it's been on a and again, look, big swings in the lines. That's the pandemic. Hello. And what we've seen is since the pandemic started, we saw these lines getting closer and closer and closer together, right? You see them getting closer, right? But then what's really interesting is right here, you see in December of 2021 that the green line actually went above the blue line, right? So there was more sales in December of 2021 than there were new listings. That's crazy because two things. Number one, usually you see that there's going to be less sales in December. You have the holidays and all that stuff. So usually there's less sales in December. But what's really interesting, we bring it back to this graph, you can even see here, look, December, number of sales went on a downward trend. December, downward trend, right? December, downward trend. And then all of a freaking sudden, you see here in December, boom, upward trend, right? It did go in a downward trend from December to January, but then boom, it popped right back up again. So what I think this is showing us is that this is a representation of how people were starting to get a little bit worried about interest rates. Like, oh my God, the Fed's talking about raising bank-to-bank rates, which means eventually, interest rates with mortgages are going to be raising. So we better get out there and buy what we need to buy, a freaking sap, okay? So that is what that represents. And then as these lines get closer and closer, the market's tighter, but look what happens here. Boom, right there, you have January, February, March. Well, what happened in March? March is when interest rates started to actually, kind of move substantially from what they had been previously. And what you're seeing there is it was really more like April-ish, if we want to be honest. But what you have here is, or if we want to be thorough and accurate, what we have here is the last minute, because last minute purchases before those rates went up, because Sales are a lagging indicator. People who are buying, when you close on a property, which is what this is measuring, is when the property gets closed on, not when it goes under contract. When a property is closed on, it's considered a sale. That's a lagging indicator because it takes like 30 to 45 days sometimes for a property to close once it's gone under contract. So these people who are closing in March, they actually went under contract in February or maybe even mid-January-ish, right? Now, what happened after that, rates went up, and then what happened then? You see, boom, number of sales went down into the gutter, right? And so since March, we've seen number of sales for all property types in Miami-Dade have gone down, right? Which is really interesting. We're at a level now, which is almost at parity with where we were at. It's actually lower than where we were at in December of 2020, okay? Which it was, that was like pandemic like certified right there. We were deep in it. So that's really interesting. And then at the same time, we're seeing number of new listings is, getting up there. It's on an upward trend where we had been on a downward trend for most of last year. It was like depressing almost how few new listings were coming on. And so this is really encouraging for anybody to, in my opinion, like the buyers I'm working with, anyone who's a buyer in the market, this is encouraging news, okay? It means that, keep being patient, keep being persistent. It's going to start being easier to win the house that you want. There's going to be less bidding wars and less like, 30, 40, 50 offers on houses and stuff like that, where I'm already seeing that as an agent. So, as a consumer, you're probably going to be seeing that as well if you're active in the market. But you need to, active is the key word. Stay looking at, what's coming out every day because it's still moving quick, and we're going to see that here. But, you want to be looking at what's coming on the market every single day and be very prepared, okay? Now, let's check out condos, townhomes, and villas and co-ops by themselves in Miami-Dade. So same statistics, number of sales, and then number of new listings. So again, we see those lines getting closer and closer, right? Which means the market's tightening, okay? As we talked about, boom, huge crazy spike, that's the pandemic. And then we saw number of new listings was it went up after that crazy drop. You can almost imagine that from here, it just kind of did like a steady up increase, right? Without this like major fear indicator right here. It kind of worked its way up. And then in 2021, rates were so freaking low. Everybody was buying. Everybody was trying to get what they needed. And then boom, again, we see in December of 2021, we see that the number of sales for that month surpassed the number of new listings, which again is crazy. And then again, with this one, we see at the end of the graph, we see boom, right there in March, we see sales going down. We see number of new listings going up, and it's on an upward trend, right? Now, this is a little bit of an oscillation back and forth, just like in the last graph. We don't know if that's going to continue as far as our number of sales, if maybe we're going to swing back up and sales are going to pick up again. But my hunch is with interest rates raising like they are or being higher than they were, I think it's slowing down that demand, as I've talked about before. And I think that we're going to see these two lines start to diverge from each other more. I think we're going to keep seeing this number of new listings going up, and we're going to keep seeing number of sales start to normalize, get back more into this range here because the interest rates aren't as high, or aren't as low. There's not as much of an incentive, right? People are thinking like, oh, maybe we should wait. Now let's look at the same thing, but with single family homes. Again, we see the lines converging, market getting tighter, things getting tougher, things getting more competitive. And then boom, we see December, boom, more sales than number of new listings, right? So that was kind of like a big inflection point. And then from there, the number of sales has started to trend downwards. But what's really interesting here is the number of new listings in single-family homes compared to the condos. We see a bigger difference between how those lines are diverging from one another. If you take a look, single-family homes, and then boom, back to condos, you see those are a little bit more closer together comparatively with the rest of the graph than you see here. There's a much bigger difference there. So we're seeing a lot more, per unit increase of houses than we are of single family homes than we are of condos, right? Which makes sense. There's more inventory of condos, it would make sense to me that it's gonna be a little bit more of a stable market. A smaller increase per unit in single family homes will move this graph more than the same size increase. Like 100 single family homes puts a bigger jump on this line than 100 condos because there's just so many condos, right? So that's super interesting. Now let's take a look at a different way to look at this. So same time frame, same thing. We're looking at all property types in Miami-Dade, but we're looking at median sale price versus the closed price to original price ratio. Well, what is that? Okay, so median sale price. Remember, we look at median rather than average because we have crazy like $40 million homes here. So if we did averages, those would heavily weight the average price to the upper end of the spectrum. So the median gives us a little bit more of a normalized figure. And then the closed price to original price ratio, that just means, hey, if they listed it for $1 million and then it ended up selling for, let's just say 900,000, right? That's a 90% original price to closed price ratio, okay? So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. And if it doesn't, drop me a comment below and ask me to explain it further, and I will. So boom, what we see here, sale price in the green line, and then the closed price to original price ratio in the blue line. And both of these are going up. And what that means is, I mean, number one, as far as the median price, that means median price is going up. Median price for all property types now is almost $500,000. It's like $470,000, $475,000 the last couple months. And you can see even since that December, right, when we had a big spike in sales, it leveled out and then it shot up right there, okay? So everybody was scrambling to buy what they wanted to buy before they felt like interest rates might get higher. Then what that causes, because there was so much of a jump in demand, look how crazy we went up more than 2% in terms of that closed price to original price ratio. So, you know, imagine like if you're buying $1 million property, then right here, maybe you could have gotten it for $980,000. Whereas now you're paying the full $1 million for it. In fact, this is off the charts, right? There's above 100% close price to original price ratio, which I've talked about in a previous video. So that's really interesting. Let's check out the same thing, but for condos, co-ops, villas, and townhomes. And we see that, boom, once again, our median price in the green going up, 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 right? And actually, for the first time ever in the history of Miami-Dade, the median sale price for condos, co-ops, townhomes, and villas is above 400,000. It just this past month in May, it just rose above 400,000 for the first time, as you can see here. Also, similar to all property types, we're right up there at that 100% closed price to original price ratio. So you ain't getting any deals right now. The market's still hot, okay, which is good news for sellers. For buyers, it might mean, hey, if you don't have to buy right now, maybe take a step back for like a month or two, a few months. I don't know how long. I'm not your, financial advisor. I can be your real estate agent if you want to reach out to me. All my contact info is down below. I'd love to hear from you. But, it might be time if you're a buyer to kind of hold the horses a little bit, right? Or if you need to buy, then, it's still, interest rates might still be lower than what they could be later on this year. We'll see. But that's up to you guys. I don't know your personal financial situation, of course. So let's look at the same thing here now just for single family homes. Again, 100%, closed price to original price ratio. Sale price for single family homes about 575,000 median sale price. We're just seeing the same thing across all the different types, right? All property types, condos and townhomes essentially, and then single family homes, right? So, you're not getting any deals. If the house is 500,000 and you're wanting to get it for 480,000, just don't waste your time. Like you're going to be paying full price at least. Like look here, that's off the chart again, right? So that is the data that I wanted to share with you guys. I hope this was useful for you all. If you have any questions whatsoever about Miami-Dade real estate, I'm your go-to guy. There's nobody who knows the market better than I do. All my contact info is down below. You can schedule an appointment with me on my Calendly link, and I would love to help you guys out. Love to consult with you for free. Just share my insights, let you pick my brain if you'd like, and let's talk real estate, man. I love it. So Jake Fletcher here with the Fletcher Group, eXp Realty, right here in Miami, Florida. And once again, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, definitely consider smashing the like button, subscribe, share this video with anyone you know who might find it helpful. And until the next time, I hope you guys keep on winning. Peace.